Okay, Michigan, we're going to go ahead and get started with our March Michigan Financial Wellness Network Partner Coffee Chat. I have a few updates that we're going to get through quickly because I want to spend the bulk of the time today talking with Derek at MCEE with regard to SmartPath as a fantastic resource that is available to us throughout the year. So just a couple updates that I need to share, if I can get my screen to advance. Our agenda is just covering the flagship initiatives, the fact that we're seeking sponsors for our Smart Money Magic Show, uses of SmartPath. We're going to do partner go around at the end as time allows. And then wanted to make sure that April 3rd. Oh my gosh, it's March 13th already. April 3rd is on everyone's calendar. That'll be our next time that we get together. I skipped over. So our Smart Money Michigan Kids Read, I'm going to give a quick update on that. Funding the Future, the tour is coming soon. So exciting. FemPreneur Summit and our Smart Money Magic Show. Those are the four things I'm going to get through here momentarily. First off, our Smart Money Michigan Kids Read. Here's the book. And all of the requests that came in, 172 libraries that requested copies of this year's book, Owl and Otter and the Big Talent Show. Those were sent out via interlibrary delivery system on March 5th. And your programs can occur anytime during the month of April, which is Financial Literacy Month. I've received a few emails from libraries who have memories from days gone by, and they were asking me, what is the week? What are the dates this year that we can do our programming? And you have the entire month of April. We're no longer locked into that 8-day period that we used to be committed to. So you can run your programs anytime between April 1st and 31st. Library and credit union partnerships are encouraged. And if you don't have a partnering credit union, if you're a library hosting this program and you're looking for a credit union partner, we have already started doing that matchmaking. But if you still need assistance, feel free to reach out to me at mifinancialwellness@gmail.com. And we are developing our feedback survey. We don't have a whole lot of reporting requirements for this program, but we do want your feedback. And so we're working on survey questions. It won't take you more than 2 or 3 minutes to complete it. It'll be online. You can click, give answers. That gives us information to go forward on as we hopefully continue to do this program again in the future. So watch for that. I hope to get that survey distributed like the middle of April, because I know some libraries will do programming in the first half of the month and others will do it later in the month, but I want to get that survey out while things are still fresh in everyone's minds, so that we can get your feedback. And of course, always a big thanks to for the funding that provides the money to be able to do this program. Over I think this year we ordered 15,000 copies of our book and provided to libraries and families by Michigan credit unions with funds from the Michigan Credit Union Foundation. So our flagship initiative, Funding the Future, which is the, about an hour and 15-minute program that uses real live rock and roll concert and then ties into a financial literacy message from the band leaders themselves. We do still have April 30th available. So if you work with a high school here in Southeast Michigan that might want to host such a program, high school or middle school, please let us know. We have one date on this spring tour available, and you can reach me at that same email address, mifinancialwellness@gmail.com. Huge shout out and thanks to our participants, our speakers, our sponsors. The FemPreneur Summit was absolutely incredible. I'm so incredibly grateful for this community of female entrepreneurs and everyone who attended, who spoke, who shared their expertise and their knowledge to make it just an incredibly dynamic day. We had about 120 women who participated and robust marketplace, incredible presenters and panelists. We even did a small self-defense segment and a whole host of other interesting and rewarding things. A lot of relationships were either strengthened or started, and we're very grateful for an incredible program. We will look to do this event probably again the first week of March next year, which is International Women's Week. So be looking for more details on that. We've already sent out a link for a survey to get feedback from both attendees as well as speakers and exhibitors. So if you wore one of those three hats or several of those three hats and have not yet completed the survey, please do so. We're starting the review and debriefing process this Friday. So even though I asked for a submission be due by yesterday, I will pull down that list and start critiquing everything today. And then finally, I do want to talk just a moment, if my slide will advance. There we go. Our Smart Money Magic Show. For many, many years, we had a single sponsor, which I'd love to replace because it makes things very neat and tidy. If anyone has relationships with, let's say, MasterCard or Discover or Visa or any large organization or association that might like to take on our Smart Money Magic Show, I'd love to have a conversation with them. If not for this year, obviously now is the time to start conversations for this fall or even going into 2025. Also, smaller organizations can certainly sponsor individual Smart Money Magic shows, which I will facilitate. I will, be the administrator. I will do the scheduling, handle the booking, the materials, the performer. And I have one credit union that's already in the process of doing that. They're going to sponsor a couple of shows in their local area and bring this program to elementary schools where they do business. And we certainly can do it that way. So please reach out to me at that same email address, myfinancialwellness@gmail.com. That's myfinancialwellness@gmail.com. And if you have never seen one of the shows, I can send you a little clip that I recorded just on my phone, and it's in a private link on my YouTube channel that I can send you a link to just get a feeling for how these shows work. It's basically 6 vignettes, 6 or 7 minute using humor, audience participation, sleight of hand, quote magic, teaching basic money lessons to kindergarten through 5th graders. So please let me know if you have suggestions or would like to look at bringing a show to your own elementary school if you are able to do that. And now, Derek, I think you are up next. Oh, just a few, I'm still seeking topics. The last couple of months we've had different topics that were suggested by the group. So if you have ideas that you would like to see topics for us to cover, each month we get together and certainly, building relationships, problem solving, sharing resources, giving updates is all very valuable, but sometimes it's nice to have a featured topic. Like today, SmartPath is what we're gonna deep dive into. And we've already checked a couple of them off the list. And if you have other suggestions, once again, email me and I can add it to the possible feature topics for future meetings. And hopefully I will see everybody back here on April 3rd is our next meeting. So does anyone have any questions for me? I'm going to pause just momentarily. Those were all of my updates. Our Smart Money Michigan Kids Read, our FemPreneur Summit, Funding the Future, and then long-term looking to, restart our Smart Money Magic Show. Does anyone have questions about those 4 items? Or anything related to our monthly meetings? Okay, so if not, I'm going to stop sharing. Derek, that way you can take it away. So for those of you who don't know, Derek D'Angelo is the president of the Michigan Council on Economic Education and has been an integral part of what we do here, our Michigan Financial Wellness Network and its predecessor. And I asked him because I personally am interested in having a better understanding of the SmartPath platform, a little bit deeper dive than what we've done in the past so that I can explain to people how they can use it, especially if they're a non-traditional, like not a classroom teacher. I work with a lot of social service agencies and youth librarians and just even individuals that I'd like to be able to say a little bit more meaningful as to how they could utilize it with their kids. So with that, Derek, it's all yours.
All right, Kelly, just confirming you can see my screen. You're good?
Sure can.
All right. Well, thank you for coming this morning. The first thing to let you know is the web address for SmartPath, and that is smartpathlearning.com. If you Google SmartPath, it would eventually come up on the first page somewhere. But there's a lot of SmartPath things out there. So smartpathlearning.com is where you want to go. And the Michigan sponsorship comes from Michigan Credit Union Foundation for us to have this tied to our state standards for any educator to be able to have that. And you'll see that when we get into the lessons. SmartPath was developed by a woman named Julie Heath out of the University of Cincinnati. She is really focused on economic education, research, part of it. You can see that come up a little bit in some of the lessons where they're looking to see student growth and other things with some of the questions. But with that background, it is really for elementary age. It gets a little bit into the middle school, but really focus on the elementary age child, and has a robust amount of resources for you to be able to use. So this is what happens when you first get to the website. You just go right to the smartpathlearning.com platform, and it has a promotional video if you want to share with somebody else in a really quick way what SmartPath is. There's a minute and a half video here that's embedded within the website that you could use, and some more information as you scroll down on just what the program is about. But I'm going to be walking you through these things live, so I'm not going to get into this page too much. So the first thing we do is, yes.
May I interrupt 1 second? So
Yes.
I know that there's a link that lives off of the MCEE website.
Mm-hmm.
Is there benefit to accessing this platform through your website? Does it somehow tie to Michigan standards that way, or no? Or does it not matter? They can go directly to smartpathlearning.com instead.
Yeah, either way. Either way, it's like,
Okay.
if you don't want to go through that process, you could go to michiganecon.org and get to it through our MCE website.
But it's going to be the same content.
Yes.
No matter how you get to it.
Yes, because when you log in, it knows that you are from Michigan, because when you fill out your registration form,
Gotcha.
You say that you're from Michigan, and then when you log in, it remembers that and establishes all the Michigan specific things you'll see.
Sweet.
So,
okay, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you click on Explore SmartPath, it would jump you over to be able to sign up as a new user or log in as an existing user. So I'm going to just go ahead and click log in. I've already gone through the login. It remembers that, so it's there. So I can't really show you without probably going through a little bit of a process right now to that you can see that you can do the single sign in with Google and other things to make it a little bit easier for you. But this is really just a login screen. We'll go through some of these links at the top in a little bit, but there also is a login up there on the right that you can get to it. And so once you log in, it will default, because it will ask you like what level educator are you. It will default to that level when you log in. So if it was level 5, you would log in at level 5 all the time when you come in. There are level 1 through 6 lessons, and then middle school world history and middle school US history. Now these levels are fairly aligned to grade level expectations, but there is no restriction for you to which ones you want to use, or if you want to use level 1 with one group of students and level 2 with another. I'd say the only thing people have to watch out for is if if you go through levels 1, 2, and 3 with one grade, then the next year they've already done these things. You have to be a little bit I guess cognizant of that as you're going through. But you have these different options, and it doesn't restrict you, again, based upon what you sign up for when you create your account. It just puts you there as a landing spot. Okay. Now, every one of these lessons has a similar structure. So I'm just going to go through some things on the level one lessons and play for you a little bit of video so you get a background of what makes SmartPath special, because one of the things that make it special is that it's got a storyline. And that storyline is taken through all three of the lessons at each level. Okay, so you basically start off with this overview at each level. And we've got a Blackbeard pirate that is part of the storyline. Again, you can see that presented by MCUF at the top. So this overview gives kind of what the focus is of the storyline of the what he has to do, the economic decisions he has to make. You've got standard mapping here, which is where it gets a little bit personalized based upon your login information. So you've got the Michigan academic standards here for math, social studies, and ELA, English Language Arts. And in some levels, there won't be math standards. Some levels there will be, but they're there if they do apply to any of those lessons. You can also toggle to the Jumpstart standards and see how it aligns with some of the Jumpstart, and those are Jumpstart Council for Economic Education shared standards. So those are at the national level. Okay, so Michigan academic standards, and then the Jumpstart standards. So I think that's all we have to do on the overview. Then we can navigate a couple different places to the pre-assessment in the upper right or on the left side. For whatever reason, I always go to the left side, and you can go to the pre-assessment. So this is optional. You don't need to do it. It's up to you. If you wanted to do a pre-assessment with your students, you could either do it printed out or online digitally. So there's a printed out link right below this button to get a pre-assessment PDF to use in class and also an answer key. Or you could just click on the enter pre-assessment and it would go to start student pre-assessment, and the students would be able to go in and do a pre-assessment. And the teacher would have access to that data. So close out of there because that opened up a new window. So pre-assessment is the same as the post-assessment, just for an awareness of that. And you can put that in there as well. My students took the printed pre-assessment. The average score was blank. Again, it's not going to restrict you if you don't, but it does ask for that. I think that research university mentality of wanting to look and see how the students are doing. And then teacher pre-assessment, where's your class on these topics of needs and wants, of managing money, confidence in managing money. How confident are you teaching financial literacy in the classroom? Looking for some feedback there. Again, optional. If you don't do it, it's not going to restrict you from going to the next area. So after the pre-assessment, you get into the bulk of the lessons, and each level has 3 lessons: lesson 1, lesson 2, lesson 3. Okay, then you could see at the left side here, review and assessment and homework. And then some other links that we'll go through at the bottom. Okay, so if we enter into lesson 1, you got the concept, the learning objectives, any materials checklist, which there aren't any for this lesson. There aren't any for lesson 2 of this one either, just for lesson 3. And that's fairly typical that just one of the lessons will have kind of a hands-on material part of things. There's a lesson overview that is embedded in here, but you could also print it out as a PDF. The idea here is that sometimes educators have to turn in their lesson plans, and they could easily just print that PDF out, and it would show the exact same thing here that you're seeing of the step-by-step going through this lesson 1. So this gives you a very comprehensive overview of lesson 1, where you see that you're going to watch a 6-minute video. Gives you the introduction to the concept, to the characters, and the storyline. And there's an interactive. It's usually projected up on a whiteboard. Some using a computer and a projector to have students work with sorting items in some way, shape, or form. Then you have some discussion points that are fed in through the lesson. Another interactive 2-minute video, and then another discussion time period. And I just want to show you before going into and actually showing you one of these, which we will, how lesson 2 is very similarly structured. So you got the concept, the learning objectives, no materials checklist, and then the lesson overview. And the lesson overview is a little bit different structure. We have a video. We've already been introduced to the characters, discussion, another short video, 2-minute video, 4-minute video, an interactive, and a couple more 1-minute videos, 5-minute interactive, 2-minute video, 2-minute interactive, 1-minute video, 2-minute interactive, 1-minute video. It keeps going. This is a little bit of a longer one. It's a lot more broken up than you see in most lessons. All right, so finishes with the discussion. All right. And I'd say that's a little bit abnormal. From most of the lessons, it goes a lot longer. Lesson 3 is going to have some materials. So this is going to have a PDF. If you click on the view for the trading game, it's really the lesson materials, lesson plan for the teacher to be able to use. So it gives the instructions on how you run the lesson and setting things up, then the steps in how to play, and kind of the learning checks along the way, and then the teacher's answers and the student handouts, the cutouts that would be used during the trading game. So all those materials are there for the teacher to print out and use and make copies of. And each one of the, I'm gonna close this now. Each one of the levels, level 1, level 2, has some type of hands-on activity like that you can utilize. And those activities typically take anywhere between 20 and 30 minutes with a group of students. So this one happens to be in lesson 3. I think in level 3, it might be in lesson 2. So it's not always in lesson 3. All right, a little bit more on the structure of everything before we go back in and look at one of the lessons. So the review and assessment, it gives you the post-assessment that could be either done, again, printed out or online. So the enter post-assessment would give you the online version, and the view assessment, printed assessment, and answer key is available right there. Right. And one of the advantages for doing it online is that you do get post-assessment results fed to you on your teacher platform here. You're the one running this, and it would show you with color coding very easily a grid of green if people got it right. And so you could look down like question 1, the column for question 1, and very easily see like, ooh, a lot of people got question 1 wrong. Or for question 2, a lot of people got question 2 wrong. So it's got the students on the horizontal, and the columns are each of the questions. And whether the students got it right or wrong, it's color coded. So it's a very easy way for a teacher to look at things and see if there's anything that they've got to go back and deal with as far as their reteaching. And then just the STAR evaluation again on how confident you are, how confident your students are with the different topics. There is in each level a homework. It is again optional. It is a print handout. You can see the print handout button here. It's a PDF. It has a couple of videos that go along with the homework that make it a little bit unique. Like you get a little bit of a bonus part of the story that is involved with the homework. You can see that from the QR code. If you were to scan that, it gives a special message. And then the homework is just another little quick, easy, hands-on type of assignment that could be sent home to do for homework to involve the families. All right, in these last areas, SmartPath, All Access, and Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, I'm going to wait and hold off on those and kind of wrap up with those at the very end. But I do want to go through, depending on our time here, at least a little bit of lesson 1, okay? So I'm going to, I really think you need to see the video in order to get the idea of how much students do like this. So we're going to go back to lesson 1. I'm going to enter the lesson. All right, and then Should be able to get us going
Oh,
with
hello there. How are you today? Well, I actually can't hear what you're saying, but I thought it was polite to ask. I'm your narrator for today. That means I'm going to tell a tale. A tale of greatness and bravery and honor. It's a tale of two things which you probably use every day, but you might not even know it. These things are called goods and services. To learn about goods and services and how they work, we need to go back to a time where there were no cars, no light bulbs, no lollipops, no bikes, no internet, and even no me. We're going back to the year 1718. Do you know who was around in 1718? Pirates! Yarr! Meet Blackbeard. He was called Blackbeard because his beard was black. No, black. Black! Yes, that's right. Black. Yar, that's right. This here beard is how I got my name. Yar! He did all the things that pirates did, like jousting on sharks, talking to parrots, and stealing golden treasure. But in nearby Hampton, Virginia, there was someone who wanted to put a stop to Blackbeard's shenanigans. That someone was this gentleman here. Good day, Robert Maynard. That's Lieutenant Robert Maynard of the British Royal Navy, but let's not be too formal. You can call me Rob. Thanks, Rob. So I understand that to capture Blackbeard, you need to prepare a few things. Well, that's right. I do. And what are they, if you don't mind us asking? Well, I have to fix the sails so I can... I'll need lots of rope so he doesn't get away. I need some salted pork to feed my crew. The saltiest pork possible. I'd like a fiddle to play some music while at sea. It's easy to become terribly bored, you see. This way I can keep up my fiddle practice and maybe one day I'll become a professional fiddler. Maybe I need to plug a little leak in my ship. At the moment, it's being plugged by a cork. Genius! But we're not going to get very far with a cork in the hull, are we? Interesting. Here's a question, Rob. Do you know which of these are goods and which of these are services? Goods? Services? What on earth are they? Say, Rob, let's head to town and see if we can find some examples of goods and services. Oh, splendid! I could certainly use a break from all my work here. Let's go! So, Rob, goods and services are names for the things you buy. Everything you buy is either a good or a service. Goods are things that you can touch, or maybe even own, like a banana, or a bicycle, a TV, or a house. What's a TV and a bicycle? We'll learn about that in another lesson. Services are actions that people do for you, like fighting fires, babysitting, driving a bus, or teaching you math. Everything you buy or trade can be called a good or a service. What is this bus you speak of? You mean that things I buy are goods, but actions I buy are services. Yes, that's correct. So if I buy an elephant, that's a good. Yes, that's right. An elephant is a good, because it's not an action that someone does for you, but it's a thing that you can own. If you have space for an elephant, that is. Hey, watch out! Oh, that was a close call. Anyway, so if I get my boots shined, then that's a service? Yes, I think you've got it. getting your boots shined, being taught a new talent, even getting your hair cut are all services. They are actions that people do for you. So you get something, but it's not like an elephant that you can own. Because everything you use can be considered a good or a service, it is likely you use goods and services every single day. Maybe you caught the bus today. That's a service. If your parents dropped you off at school, that's a service too, even if you didn't pay for it. Did you eat breakfast? That's a good. Well, I can already name a good and a service I used today. I bought a very nice apple from the market. That's a good. And before that, I had my boots shined. That's definitely a service. Excellent, Rob. But now, can you guys name some goods or services you've used today?
Okay, so I'm going to, this is the lesson interface right here. I'm going to exit out of this, exit out of the lesson. It asked me to exit out of the lesson. So what that is the introduction to the video part, meeting Blackbird Maynard, introduction to goods and services, and gives you, establishes the storyline. I will go into the interactive. I don't think we need to get into discussion points, but you can see them right here. It says what goods and services have you used today. So it asks the educator to work with the students on that question and give some example prompts to get students talking before some more interactives and videos and discussion for the lesson. But I do want to show you the interactive. So I'll enter back into that lesson interface to do that.
Oh. Let's see how well you can tell goods and services apart. Let's say Joel teaches Olivia how to do a cartwheel, and in return, Olivia gives Joel a piece of chocolate. Which one is a good? Which is a service?
So it's a lot of times these types of sorting things, and you have to match, okay, this teaching thing, that was a service, chocolate bar.
Correct.
Good.
If you buy a rake and then use the rake to clear up some leaves on a sidewalk, which is a good and which is a service?
Get one more right before we go into the
Nice work. What if Lauren gives Christopher her sandwich and Christopher gives Lauren his pizza? Which is a good? Which is a service?
So when you get it wrong, it just goes and gives you that puts it in the wrong area. Okay, so that is the interactive. I'm going to exit out of the lesson there. So we have time to look at a couple of other quick things and then answer any questions. But that is the basic idea of how each one of these lessons go. And let's look at a couple other things here. I said that we get to it after giving a little bit of an introduction to the lesson, the SmartPath All Access, and the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. So we'll start with the SmartPath All Access. And you can see it's opened up a new tab. So it's taking us back to more of the website where you've got the login, sign up on the upper right. So we're kind of out of the personalized login area now. And we have the SmartPath All Access page that we're on. And what this does is give lesson plan supports for students with disabilities with each of those lessons. So we're just in level 1 and we're just looking at goods and services. And so it's got a PDF that would help make some adjustments for students with any type of special needs. So that goes through for each one of the levels and each one of the lessons. They've got a personalization for that situation and a PDF that would be able to be utilized by the educator. So you can go through there and see, you know, all of the different resources that are in that PDF packet. All right, I'm going to go back. And then I'm going to click up at the very top here to videos. I want to show you the videos, then we'll get into diversity, equity, and inclusion in a minute. But these are standalone videos to teach different economic concepts with a lot of the same characters that you see through the lessons. So we've got Blackbeard learns a lesson on decision making. You can see that they're tagged by what concept is being taught. Kevin is a puppet that is in a lot of these different videos, but these are, I'll click on one so you can see just 30 seconds or so of what this is about.
That's right, boys. Load the cannons. We'll surprise the British with a broadside attack.
Oi, the boss has lost his marbles. We'll be out of cannonballs in no time.
Oh, he's off his rocker. This one doesn't look good.
Heads down, buckos. We got a job to do.
Oi, 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 oi.
Loading up. Loading up. Loading up.
Whoa, Blackbeard, you sure are using a lot of cannonballs. Everything okay?
Oh, it's nothing, Negan. Just a little matter called the British Royal Navy.
All right, so we're not going to watch the whole 7.5 minutes, but you can get the idea that it is a continuation of some of the characters that you see in your earlier lessons, and there are also some additional resources that go along with it: the crossword, cursive practice, word search, and even a little bit of a lesson plan, lyric sheet. So a lot of different things that go along with just that one 7.5-minute video. This is not a login area. This is just something you could navigate to. The videos are embedded from YouTube, so those videos you could find on YouTube, but those resources are right there, but again, not behind the login area necessarily. All right, so going back to the video area, just to give you an idea of how many there are there, it's about 12 or so, and tells you a little bit about Megan, the puppeteer, who's definitely very talented, and she's in kind of the star of being in each one of these lessons too. The bite-sized financial literacy, so SmartPath Snacks bite-sized financial literacy, is for preschool and kindergarten. So if you're thinking, okay, well, level 1, well, what about kindergarten? You've got options here for the younger students, and these are very short videos. We're not going to watch it, but I'll just click on it to give you an idea. The length, you can see it's about 55 seconds here, very short, and you can see the topics on the left side as you scroll through there. All right. I think we'll go back for a moment and the diversity, equity, and inclusion, and just share that before we wrap up here. What you have is guides for each one of the levels. So level 1, DEI guide, and kind of point some of those things out. It's a clickable PDF. There's a little background on who prepared those as well. And it does that for each one of the lessons. Okay, so if we click on that PDF, it will open up this package in this separate tab and go through some of the considerations and discussion questions that would focus more on the diversity, equity, and inclusion. Okay. All right, with that, I think I'll pause right now and just see if there's any questions and answer anything that people might have about how it's utilized, or anything else you might like to know.
Derek, I have a lot of questions, but I want to give other people an opportunity.
Well, you could get us started.
Okay, so can you go back to the lessons? Yeah. So as I was looking at even level 1 lessons, can you, I'm thinking that for some, I guess, I'm looking for some organizations, again, that are not classroom teachers, but work with groups of youth, like through social service agencies or places of worship. There might be groups of youth that are, let's say, even 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, that are not on grade level, right? So they're technically supposed to be in 6th grade or 8th grade or even 10th grade, that are not, that struggle, right? That are not, either they have IEPs or maybe they don't, would you, and I'm not even sure some of those kids know, like, could explain supply and demand or goods and services, or how would you, like, could someone, I'm not sure what my question is, but could someone that has access to a group of youth over a period of time of weeks or months, could you envision them starting right at the beginning with like level 1 lessons?
Yeah, I mean,
Even,
I think about, I've got a son in 7th grade, right? I think like how like childish would he think this stuff is?
right, yes,
And I don't really, I think he'd be okay with it. I think I think the kids get drawn and pulled into the story. And I think it's an animation done in a way that is very common to them. And I don't think that there's that much of a, I guess, I don't think lesson 1 is treated like, okay, these are level, 1st graders. We've really got to talk to them a certain way.
right.
There's definitely a difference between lesson 1 and lesson 5 in the concepts, but how it's presented isn't really that different. If you're not like, oh yeah, I can see the lesson 1 is, that's definitely for 1st graders, and lesson 5 is definitely for 5th graders. Going through the different lessons, it's fairly consistent as far as the way that they tell the story and those things. So, and you've got the other puppet things too, that they can be quirky and fun as well. So I think it could work.
Because could you go to like a level 5, just
Yeah.
real quick, and pull a level 5 up, or 6, or, middle school or something, and just look at some of
Yeah.
the learning
So
outcomes, or what are they called? Like,
yeah, so you've got materials 2-step order of operations. So as far as like the level 5 activity that you're going to have the students do, the PDF that you might print out, um, that's something that 1st graders wouldn't be able to handle. But could 1st graders watch the level 5 lesson and probably follow along through the video and the interactives and the discussion?
I'm thinking of
Probably.
it the other way, like you might have 9th graders that
Yeah.
this might be on level for them. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Yeah, I guess that's what I'm saying, is that it's like you could go either way, whether it's, you know, going up or going down. I don't think it's
right.
really that much of an issue. You would just have to customize and say, okay, well, this math I know is going to not, they can't handle this, but we can handle the other parts, and you can not do that part of the lesson, and that's okay too.
So does this, um, hmm, I'm trying to think of, if I had a group of, I don't know, 8 or 10 young people, how do you do this if everyone doesn't have a device? Like, like I might have in a room, I might have my laptop that might be on a monitor, but like, how are students gonna do the assessment or do the
You only really
sorting?
need, you just need the teacher computer. It isn't meant to be gone through by the students individually.
Okay,
So the teacher is showing the video on the projector and going through that lesson with the discussion um, within the lesson, and all of these parts happen with the teacher computer on the projector. And the only and then even with the assessment, that can either be done by print, or on a separate computer or even on the teacher computer, and have the students come up one by one and do it at some point during the day that day. Make sure everybody comes up to the computer and does the pre-assessment.
Or in a really informal setting, I'm just throwing out there, like, a Boys and Girls Club or a summer camp, or where it's not at all tied to school.
Yeah.
Like, maybe it's just a group, like, what do you guys think? What's the answer? And then the teacher puts the answer in, and then there's a discussion about, well, why the answer was wrong or right? Like, so it may
Yeah.
not be individual assessment. I don't know. Is that okay? Like,
Yeah. Yeah, it's do whatever you'd like. Just like I said, you don't have to do this, this PDF within lesson one, but it's something that you could just use the test as another learning tool, right? So
right.
more of a discussion question test. So yeah.
Mhm. How do you feel about, let's say I'm a librarian, and libraries are very good aggregators of resources, and or I'm a place of worship, or I'm a social service agency. I guess it could be for any kind of organization. I know, like, many libraries, I can go to my local library and go to their website, and they have a whole host of resources available. They're online, right? That you still can go check out books and other things, but you can also access a lot of things through the library as almost like a portal. What would be would it be possible? Would it be acceptable or appropriate for an organization to host a link to SmartPath on their own website?
Yeah, that's not a problem at all. I mean, obviously you have to understand, it's kind of designed in these levels, but it doesn't say grades for a reason. So
Right.
it can be a little bit flexible, and people kind of can understand that. And it makes me think of like homeschooling groups and other things, right? Like they might want to utilize this with their when they come together in a pod. So, there's a lot of different use cases, and it is flexible enough that even just a family could go through these lessons together. And so sharing it as a resource for Financial Literacy Month, let's say, because I mean, everything kind of connects back to econ and personal finance and some math as well. And I would say every one of these lessons.
I also know people who are professional tutors. They're retired school teachers, taught for 30 years, and now they do tutoring. I could see this also being useful to them, not just from a Fin Lit perspective, but just, reading, basic math, right? Like, so it would be okay for someone who is a tutor or providing academic enrichment in one-on-one situations to use it as well.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, each one of these lessons typically takes about 45 to 60 minutes, maybe at the longest. You might think that's a little bit long for elementary, but because of the way it's broken up and the video clips and the storyline, it does keep them engaged. It really has never been an issue. But it maybe even down to 30 in some cases. It might be a quick one here and there, but it depends on the robustness of the discussion, because there's always those discussion points built in, and how good the class and the teacher and the group or whatever it happens to be, that it's however it's being used with those discussions. But just to give you an idea of how long each lesson would take to go through.
That was one of my questions, is the length of time for, so each lesson is roughly 30 to 45 minutes, and within each level, there are 3 lessons.
Yes.
Yeah. And then the optional review and homework pieces.
Mm-hmm.
And I know, obviously MCEE is focused on financial literacy, but I think for, it's inextricably tied to how well someone can read, how well someone can handle basic math, that I think if we look at it through that lens of just a general literacy, I mean, in order to do this, you have to be able to read. That for people who are helping with shoring up reading ability, this could also be used. And then the benefit, like the added benefit, I guess, is the financial education piece, but really someone who is a, like an early literacy specialist could utilize this.
Yeah, it's very flexible, and very customizable. And, again, you have the lesson resources inside of the lesson and outside of the lesson. And those, when you really look at the all access, that's where I think about the people who are struggling reading. And you look at that lesson guide that I had for lesson 1 pulled up, and how it, gives some of the visual cues to help them read, Blackbeard, Stop, and Maynard. And so it goes through and it can help with those reading tasks.
And remind me again, what is that? Go back. It's called
That's the all
all
access.
access. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and that there's a guide like that for every lesson of every level.
Mm-hmm. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got some kids who are 15 who they're not anywhere near a 15-year-old functioning level, that could be really cool, really useful. And you want to, give them a sense of success, right? If everything is always hard and you're always failing, it's just, you give up hope.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's supports in multiple layers and levels, for sure within the platform.
All right. So does anyone else want to see something, anything in particular? I'd love you to, while I'm opening that up, Derek, can you pull up a middle school? Can you pull up the middle school real quick? And so does anyone else have specific questions or things you want to see or things you want to go through? Just jump in. Time machine and that Act 20. Go to the top for me.
Yep.
There's students create a spending plan. See, there we go. Yeah. Broken part on a time machine. Mm-hmm. What about lesson 2 in there? What's the
Yeah,
concept?
right. What I was just gonna click on.
Yeah, so using money in real world scenarios. This is definitely appropriate for a lot of high school students.
Yeah, and sometimes the videos will be a little bit longer. There was a 10-minute video in the first lesson.
Debt. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, credit and debt, managing debt effectively. And it just has ties with different parts of historical time periods and things. So, yeah. I don't know why it says you're going to need these items for this lesson, and it's not there right now, but I'm not exactly sure why. But no materials required on the first 2 lessons. So yeah, that third one, maybe they're editing that right now or something. But yep, that's
Hey,
again, that same
Marilyn,
setup.
as we're wrapping up, we've got a few minutes left. Marilyn, do you have any questions or thoughts of, I know you have a very specific situation where you might be able to utilize this. Is there anything you'd like to see or anything you'd like to ask?
Yes, the question I had, and I think you asked in terms of executing the program, because that's what I was wondering, whether the instructor would be, the only one with the computer, and how you would engage the students to go through, the different tasks. But I see where, in terms of trying to customize it specifically to the needs of the students, because in my case, I would have smaller groups, in some cases, just a couple students, and then in other cases, it may be 5 to 6 students, depending on the grade level that we have and what's reviewing. But, I see where, the lessons can be adapted for what we would need to cover some of the materials.
Yeah, I think you could do it really with a group of 30 students. You could do it with one-on-one. And it really doesn't change much. It's just who you're getting the responses from, the population that you're getting the responses from for the discussion parts, or you can even have the students come up to the computer when you have the interactive instead of you could have them call it out, or you can have a student come up to the computer and do it. But it's really meant to have that instructor front and center leading the lesson.
With somebody facilitating it, whether it's a parent or a counselor or a adult guide of some kind, or
Yep.
Does Amy, do you have any questions? Sarah, Kristen, anything else you guys want to see?
I don't have any questions, but this was a really great review because a lot of our content when I first came on was more aimed at the high school level. So it's nice to have something in our back pocket for the elementary middle level. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. That's why it was really developed, because there was that gap, the elementary level. So I know that's why Julie picked elementary specifically to work on.
And, again, depending on the population that someone works with, I mean, I could see a lot of this being appropriate for much older students that are just they're not on level, So I appreciate that it's not called first grade, second grade, third grade. All right, anything else, anyone? Does anyone want to unmute and give any updates or ask for help on anything before we wrap up? Sarah, do you have anything to share, or Amy?
I guess my question, our scholarships are due in a couple weeks and our submissions are very far down, and I know other institutions have said that as well. So I was just wondering if anyone else is, running scholarships and what your submissions looked like this year.
Well, do you want people to help promote your scholarship, or are you doing, is your footprint or your, required restrictions really narrow? Or do you
No,
want...
not necessarily. Our marketing team has obviously posted it on our socials and emailed our members. And I've sent now about 100 emails to administrators and secretaries all over the Lansing area for their schools. But I'm just kind of getting the word out there even more.
Yeah, so is it restricted to just Lansing area students?
I don't believe so. I would have to double check. Normally that's where most of our submissions come from. So I would have to just double check that we can do that outside of the Lansing area.
Well, I'd love to help you get the word out, but I just don't want to do that if it's a really narrow, like if, the requirements keep it to a very narrow scope.
Yeah, I will find out right now and I'll get back to you, Kelly. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. But anyone else can chime in too. I know a lot of people who work with, is it for like current seniors or juniors? Yeah, current seniors.
Current seniors.
So I'd be happy to help get the word out to people that I know through different networks. I just don't want to do that again. Like I said, if it's not appropriate to do that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I'll find out and I'll let you know by the end of the day. I appreciate it, Kelly. Thank you.
Cool. But I've heard that from other organizations too, even on the west side of the state. And I think in one of our previous meetings, it might have been Derek, as someone said, I think a lot of students right now think that college debt will be forgiven. And so they're not really worried or not looking for scholarships like they once were. Or someone said that. I don't know if that's true.
I remember that as well.
But anyone else feel free to chime in. I'm just offering to help spread the word if it's appropriate for me to do that outside the Lansing area. I even know a lot of parents of current seniors that would prompt their kid to do it. All right. For the good of the order, anyone else?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. So with our scholarship, we made a flyer, and the school district that we were our closest to had an actual career fair. So we actually we weren't looking to hire anyone, but we set up a booth just to, more or less advertise that we had a scholarship available to those, this year's seniors. So I don't know if maybe taking like a stack of flyers to the different schools and having them in, the office or on like a board or something, like a message board would be helpful, or like a flyer that had like a tear off kind of thing where they could rip off your email when they make their submission.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. I know that I personally haven't gone to all the schools to drop off flyers, but when I emailed them, I attached a flyer, and a lot of them said they were going to print it and put it up. So hopefully they did that. Also, FAFSA is delayed this year, and that was one of our requirements. So I'm thinking also that because FAFSA is delayed, they didn't see on our updated application that they can submit it without it. So it's kind of just like, I think, a mixture of things this year. But thank you, Kristen, for your advice.
Okay, I'm going to pause the recording. We can continue conversation, but I'm going to say thanks everyone for being here. I look forward to seeing you in April, and we're on the eve of Financial Literacy Month, so go team. Thank you. And thanks, Derek, for the deep dive. I appreciate it.